All right, let's see if we can do this in one take. This is David Edkins, the founder of the Edkins Group, and for the last 15 years or more at this point, we've been helping small companies across the United States and some global companies maximize their results, their profitability. So we're going to be showcasing not only Zoho and what it can do, but also just talk about business and how you can pull little levers and tweak little dials and things to try to improve the profitability of your business, especially nowadays. I mean, we're going into supposedly a recession or coming out of one or whatnot. Businesses are having some challenges. There's inflation, etc. Is that we want to be able to share some ideas that can help you gain some efficiency, so you don't have to let anybody go. Increase sales, but not, maybe not have to bring on more people, but you can keep who you have, or even just gain more efficiencies if whatever you need to scale back your workforce, or if it's just you. It's just you and you want to succeed and do more and just leverage the power of systems to be able to help you do that. So this one isn't going to be so much about the technology. This one's going to be more about thinking about your business and components of it. So we're going to be talking about something called KPIs. And it's interesting because just recently I had a customer or a client that I was working with, and sometimes I do this all the time, so I assume people know this. And I talked about KPIs and like, what is that? And they've been in business for 25, 30 years. They just didn't know, and that's fine. I mean, I don't take offense to that, but most people don't know these things because they're not technically in the business management consulting kind of area. But we'll go ahead and dive right into this. KPIs. So how do most manage their business? And this is the funny thing I read somewhere, is that they check their bank account to see if it has money throughout the month. But what we need to do is look at how could you immediately improve your business, and all it is more about visibility of what's happening. So most business owners, and I totally understand, you're so in the so-called trenches every single day. You're putting out fires, you've got the client calls, you've got working with vendors, and it can just seem like you're just every day inundated with things. But you never really take even a slight step back to see how you're performing. How are you moving the so-called dial, as they say, right? Move the needle a little bit. And that's through these things called KPIs. Now, you can kind of go crazy with these KPIs, and as you get bigger as an organization, you're likely to kind of start getting these more refined and refined and refined because you have more people in the organization and you have more oversight. But really, you want to look at KPIs. It's a key performance indicator. It can be related to output, which again, this client that I talked about, they were looking at having dashboards that kind of had them looking in the rearview mirror. They were looking at what were the results last month? How are we performing so far this month? But there's nothing really about the input, and the input will relate to output later. So if you're not measuring your input of what things you're doing every day to put into it so that you can get out the results, that's where these KPIs come in. You kind of need to look at both of them. They're used to measure how your business is doing. It allows you to focus on the areas of improvement, leading to better results and more profit. So it's just getting kind of a visibility as to how your business is doing. So we're just going to simplify this. Having done this for so many years, your business breaks down into a few components. It's your marketing, it's your sales, it's your operations, and operations is basically just delivering whatever it is you're sold. Now, granted, this video is going to be very general, and as you'll see in the operations piece of it specifically, that's where the metrics are kind of like all over the place, because at that part, you really have to start thinking, how do you deliver whatever it is that you're selling? So it could be service-based, it could be product-based. Service-based could have different components of how would you measure that. So I'd really like you, as you're going through this, and even after watching this, or if you go back and watch it again, is like pull out a legal pad or your note-taking device, Evernote or whatever, and really start thinking, how could I break down components of my business so I could see how are we performing on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, on a month-to-month basis, and obviously year-over-year. Most businesses get stuck, and so I'm trying to help unstick you a little bit. So you have marketing, sales, operations, and customer support service. There's other aspects of the administrative side, which is recruiting, HR, the financial side, and I get that, but I'm going to push those aside right now and just focus on the 4 key components. Okay, so if we look at marketing specifically, and this list is not comprehensive, it's just kind of a general idea to get you, again, to start thinking about things. So in marketing, you have input KPIs and you have output KPIs. You don't really have a lot of control of your output KPIs. I mean, you can. It really depends on coaching people, and just like if you look at your input KPIs, your social media posts, you could purely just say the sheer number of social media posts. But if they're shit, then you probably, you're not going to get output of new leads. So you want to look at social media post input, how you're doing it, how's the content, how's the copy, that's a whole thing. The number of ads that you have, but you could, again, just splatter a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and just do a bunch of ads and spend a ton of money and not get results out of it. But it is an input. Lead magnet pages, how many do you have? And then the other side of it, so you can just review this. I don't have to go bullet by bullet through it. But on the other side of it is, okay, what's my results of this? And then you kind of ping pong back and forth and say, okay, my output is this. Well, how can I go back to the input and maybe tweak that a little bit? Okay, so my cold emails that are going out, what's the content of that? What's my call to action in the cold emails? Well, maybe I need to change that. And again, there's a lot of A/B testing and things that go into it. But you say, okay, what's my input? Because I can control that. I can turn the dial on input, improving it and or increasing it to get output. Output is how much traffic do you get on your website every day, every week? What's your subscriber follower count? Is it growing? Is it not? How many new leads are you actually getting? Number of leads that convert and the existing leads that convert. Those two are actually tied almost between sales and marketing, because there could be two things there. If you look at the number of leads that convert, it could be the quality of leads that are generated by marketing, and they're converting better because of the quality, or it could be sales. So if the leads aren't converting, it could be a sales issue. Your sales rep sucks. Your sales team sucks, and you got to tweak that side of it. But so those two are kind of like related to sales and marketing at the same time, but that's how sales and marketing should be working together to go through this. And many times they're kind of separated. They need to be working together to be able to get a higher outcome. And then if you look at your average customer acquisition cost, that's what the CAC is. Based on the input that you have with marketing and the spend that you have with that, how much is that actually turning into a sale? And so in marketing, what you want to do is not only get the numbers of people in the door, the demand, but you also want to increase the quality of who's coming in. So pre-qualifying them a bit more, maybe using systems or verbiage on the website or a questionnaire form, application, those things to get like higher quality leads that then go over to sales. So in sales, you can see your input and output. Sales, this one's like pretty simple, right? Your number of calls that you have per rep, emails sent, number of appointments, the meetings completed, and the proposals sent. Those are the things that are inputs. Notice I didn't say, how many sales close or the conversion rate. Those are the outputs of what the sales team has and the inputs. So they input these things, you get that as the output. Now again, this is where coaching comes in. If you have visibility of this, and it's not just you have a team of people or you have a sales team, you start measuring these things and you look at, this rep he's doing 100 calls a day, but he's not getting any new deals. That's where the output comes in. You're like, why is that? And you might listen to the calls and go, okay, the guy's he's not doing it well. He's not following the script or whatever. So that's where, again, you ping pong back and forth. How many leads are converting? So again, converted leads kind of coincides with marketing. How's the quality? Or it could be a coaching situation with your sales. Like how many are converting? If they're not converting, why? Again, with this client that I mentioned the other day, earlier, is they had, they get like, let's say 300 leads a month. And all of a sudden they started losing, quote unquote, more than 200 of them, where their run rate was they were not losing as many of them. And so it came back to where maybe it's a coaching situation with a new sales rep that came on board. You wouldn't know that really if you just know that, okay, wait, my revenue's going down per month, but why is that? Well, you pull back the veil and you see, wow, all of a sudden now you're getting a lot more of these leads that are marked lost when they're not really lost. It's probably just a matter of either follow up, follow through, or what's being said in those communications. So that's where the output of KPIs, you can go back to the input and compare the two and see maybe is there something you need to coach somebody on. So you can see converted leads, new deals, or whatever you call it. Could be a transaction potential. What's your close rate of it? What's your average sale value? I'd almost say you can put in here your average profitability per sale, but that's kind of difficult to do because there's other components and factors in that. And then your sales per customer. So how many are repeat customers? Okay, so that's sales. Let's go into operations. You see the note there, it's industry specific. So this is one that you probably really need to think about what you do in your business in the delivery of whatever it is that you sold. So this right here is going to look kind of fragmented because I've got some service oriented, some product oriented, and just kind of to splash something up here to give you an idea. This one, it was a little harder for me to come up with because I could be very specific based on historical references of different companies I've worked with or clients. Or, and so I could put a bunch of here, but let's just go with generic. So for some service companies, they have an onboarding they do with new clients, and so that could be onboarding calls. It could be an onboarding application that goes out, a worksheet, and then how many of those are being sent out. You can't really say what's the output because they need to come back. So that could be following up on those onboarding calls. How many calls are we actually holding a day for new clients? That helps kind of see what the activity is. And again, keep in mind, every one of these, the whole idea is to be more efficient with the process. So you don't have to add more headcount to it. You just know what's going on, that either you need to, motivate somebody to go into a different role if it's not a fit for them, or out of the organization, bring somebody else in. But you want to see efficiencies of all of these steps, each of these. So shipments completed. That's something that they were going out the door. So how many are you doing every day that are going out the door? So that kind of tells you an input. You can control how much is going out the door. Project task completion, again, how many of those are being finished? And customer meetings per day. That's kind of like maybe a CPA firm, those type, where you have, or a financial advisor. You have meetings that you have, and you want to make sure what are your numbers on that. And then you can see obviously the output KPIs. They're kind of all over the place, but you can get an idea of what you're trying to do is figure out how efficient can you be in the delivery of whatever it is you sold. So there's certainly some fixed cost if it's, time. Let's say you're a pull service company, you've got people in the field driving around, going to different customers to do their pulls. Well, you could say, well, are they going crisscross the town, wasting gas and wasting time and only visiting 10 homes in a day, when you could look at the map and you can concentrate them and say, oh, well, let's just keep it all within a 3-mile radius on Monday, and then they can, knock out 25 in a day. Well, look at the efficiency of that, right? It's still the same person, vehicle that gets wear and tear, but less fuel, and you're hitting more. So the profitability for each one of those actually goes up because you're handling more with that same person or team that's going out. So just give you an idea, again, delivery can be different depending on what your business is. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So customer support and service. So this one is the KPIs are a little different here. There's a lot that you can do with services and ticketing. And this is, you sold something to somebody and they have a question about it, or maybe it arrives broken, so they need a RMA to return it, or it's just, one of your clients, let's say a financial advisor client, calls in or submits a ticket for a question they have. With this, there's a balance of, you could have people actually respond to it, or you can say, well, I can make this system. I've seen a number of questions come through, like a frequently asked question area. I can have a portal that addresses the answers to these things and provide that. So that's where you have like new tickets. Okay, it's kind of like an output, but it's an input. Like, how many new tickets do we have? How many tickets are we completing? Which completing can actually kind of be like an output, but it's meant to be an action that's taken every day. So you want the input. How much can you control of people knocking out tickets? The other thing is looking proactively. If I don't have to always respond to people with tickets, which can take time, maybe I can create a knowledge base of the frequently asked questions, or have videos or something. Maybe that's a measure you would have as an input, like of my team. Maybe they're not busy reacting to tickets. They have a little bit of time. Let's see how many new knowledge base items they can create for the organization so that it would save from having to do those reactive tickets later. So that's kind of the idea there. Then the last one there, this might bend your brain a little bit, is you take your customer service and support and turn them into a sales team. And so you say, oh, they came in with this question and it's a quote unquote issue, but it's not an issue because you have a solution for it. They just didn't buy the solution initially, or they didn't even know it existed. So you turn them, the customer service people, into creating a new lead for the sales team. And then you can see on the output side is how many sales are originating from support. So now you have service and support helping your sales team, almost like marketing helps them to get more sales. The sales are happy. That turns into another operational thing, right, where you're delivering on it, goes back to support. And then there's other things with actually customer service and support that you could have, is you could have, surveys done at the end of it. You could have recommendations. So there's a number of other KPIs that you could have in here. But just to get your arms around or your brain around how, again, you could use these KPIs for your business. KPI, again, is a key performance indicator. So what are we trying to do? Again, we're trying to figure out where we can gain efficiency in the business. Again, even if it's you do pool cleaning, let's say. It's just you. Again, are you bouncing back and forth around town? Or can you communicate with your client base and say, well, maybe I can concentrate it. Then there's actually additional things too that I haven't even brought up on this, is that as you get KPI, key performance indicators, maybe of what product set sells really well, is that as a pool cleaning company, you might do the cleaning, but then you realize, hey, I could do some other ancillary services or products that I could sell to them. And you're already visiting them, so maybe you could sell this extra thing. It doesn't take much extra time. So that's, again, you're thinking about, once you get this stuff nailed down, you can actually open your mind up a little bit more to more areas that you can have profitability without actually expending more. Okay, so can you go back and tweak the dial on each of the areas? If you could tweak marketing by 10%, sales by 10%, operations making it more efficient 10%, and customer service and support and making more leads for your sales team, imagine tweaking each one of those and increasing your profits by 30%. Then just doing it again and doing it again. That's the idea. So what do you need to do? Here's the thing. You need systems to be able to track this stuff and to do it efficiently. You could do a spreadsheet, but it becomes very difficult to really track and create dashboards that show how you're doing. So you really need some kind of a system. And you can see here, obviously, we're a Zoho partner as the Edkins Group, and we recommend, after looking at so many different systems over the years, it actually has the complete process. They have different apps that are all interconnected for the whole process. If you're not familiar with Zoho, there's a link in the description below that allows for a free trial for 30 days, and we can probably, if you're engaged with us, we could probably bump it another 30 days if needed. But that system would actually manage that entire process for you and produce the dashboards for you. So you can see the second one is you need to be able to create a roll-up into a unified dashboard. And you can check Zocademy here on YouTube, but there's also a website, zocademy.com, link also in the description below. You can check that out. And here's the thing with KPIs, it doesn't matter if you do them. I guess you set them up, but if you're never actually looking at them and doing something about it and measuring it and seeing how you performed 1 week over the last, or 1 month over the last, or how did you do this month versus last year month, how are you performing, then it really doesn't matter. You need to be able to review them, I would say minimum weekly. You're going to probably get hooked on it where you're looking at it daily, but it's one of those things, it's too close to, too close to the forest to see the trees. But you can monitor and measure it and see what's happening from day-to-day basis. It's more of a weekly or a monthly thing to see how your team is doing, especially as it relates to coaching, as you see how it flows throughout the month. Again, develop the little tweaks. I wouldn't recommend trying to go all in. Try to limit the tweaks that you do, because you won't actually be able to see the measurement based on a tweak that you do, because you're changing too many things. It's one of those, where you're testing something and you're just throwing too many things at it that you can't actually get what do they call it, a baseline or something to say, oh, this actually did increase this by this or improve it by this. But then again, the next thing is you just got to find the lowest hanging fruit. That you might start getting some of these metrics together and you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize this was an issue right here. Just like I said with that client that didn't realize they're actually getting a lot more quote unquote lost deals when they probably aren't really lost. They could probably, of the 200 that they're quote losing, if they got 40 or 50 of those back because of good salesmanship, and no offense to them, but that's all it is. It's just coaching, like listening to calls, sitting by their side to say, oh no, do it this way, say it this way, talk about this product, increasing, getting 40 or 50 more sales. Imagine that. That's the lowest hanging fruit right there. Boom. You do that, great. Now let's move on to the next thing. And the last thing I'd say is get started today. Yep. The last thing is then if you need some help, again, my name is David with the Edkins Group. Glad to help you out. We've got a couple different programs. We can do implementation of Zoho for you, or we can just do some advisory. So whatever systems you have, because we've experienced other systems out there, is we can do some month-to-month advisory if you like, just to be there at your side and say, how can we help you out? We also, as part of that monthly, could actually create the dashboards. We could create and monitor those for you on a weekly basis if you just don't have the time to do it and you don't have somebody on staff that could do it. We can help start monitoring those things to look for anomalies. Again, that'll be a link in the description below, or you can see it right in front of you there. So I'd say if we go back to that previous slide again, the last bullet there, you just get started today. And if getting started today is really just taking a legal pad out, literally going back through this and seeing those components, marketing, sales, operations, customer service support, and saying, what could I start measuring in these areas? And then think about your systems that you have and say, okay, I have this system. Does it have that functionality? Or, like I said, take a look at Zoho. It has all the functionality in there. It has the ability for you to migrate from what you have currently into it and then start getting these dashboards together. So anyways, I hope that helped. If it did, please, as they say, click subscribe. If you're not already a subscriber, click the bell notification, because we're going to put more and more of this valuable stuff out there. Hopefully it's valuable. If you did like it, please click the thumbs up or tap it that you liked it. And please also add some comments below, some questions. Love to interact with you. So hope you have a great day, and I hope that helped.